Hello there, Sir from 17 once again, introducing you to my Max Payne 3 hardcore difficulty video walkthrough. This is the second part of chapter 2, nothing but the second best. So we're shooting from the helicopter trying to protect this Spanish bird, or Portuguese lady. And this section is actually pretty difficult because the aimer is just like Resident Evil 4, it's a laser and it's hard as shit to use. But if you hit people, you'll generally kill them. So what you want to do is you want to try and be as quick as possible, you want to use as much slowdown as you need, and you want to make sure nobody gets anywhere near that woman, because if they do, they'll kill her and you'll fail. And you'll notice right now, I think I've got 8 painkillers, so I'm going to say to this, don't be afraid to use your painkillers on this section, because for some reason, which I really don't agree with, the game takes them off you. And the next section that follows this is the hardest part of the level, and I would have had 7 painkillers for it, but because of the game and how it's built, it takes them off you, and it makes it an unnecessarily difficult section. But just stay ahead of this gang, man, watch my video, see where they come from, learn the pattern, and you shouldn't have too much of a hard time here. But once again, guys, there's a lot of stuff I need to talk about, because there's a lot of exploits and and techniques that I need to bestow on people that you may already know. I know there's a lot of people that will probably be very good at this game, but you may not know them and they might just save your life. So a little trick that I've been doing to get away from the problem where the delay of coming out of cover and having your aimer accessible is if you blind fire. And this game actually has really good blind fire. It's not quite Gears of War 1 where you could snipe people with the blind fire, but it's still pretty useful. And as always, it's random, so sometimes it'll work perfectly, other times you'll be like, God damn it, game, fucking work. But use it, and use it when somebody's too close, because it's much safer to blind fire than it is to normal fire. Be very warned though, you'll still take damage from blind fire. They can shoot your arm, which is realistic but kind of annoying. But the trick to get your aimer out a little quicker is to start blind firing, and as soon as you start blind firing, if you hold the left trigger, your aim will be up immediately as you start to come out of cover. And it's an interesting technique that I've tried to use, but I couldn't really get into the full swing of it because the blind fire wastes your ammo, and sometimes ammo on this game is very scarce, which is a shame. But it's an interesting exploit that you can try if you want to see if it helps you, and hopefully it will. Right, the second thing I want to talk about is the weapons. So the weapons on this game are an interesting one because what it's opted for is you can hold 2 pistols and a heavy weapon at any given time. But if you put both your pistols on, your character will drop the heavy weapon. So it becomes this personal preference of, do you use a single pistol or use your power weapon, or do you use your dual pistols? And it's one of those balancing acts of, do you use all your ammo in your assault rifle and then use your double pistols, or do you, never use an assault rifle? And in all honesty, every single gun on this game is fantastic. It'll do its job. They all perform slightly differently. They sound different, they might have a different spray, but they're all generally extremely lethal, accurate, and decent weapons. So you should never find yourself in a situation where your gun can't cope, and what you use is completely and entirely up to you. But I'm going to have to interrupt because this section's gay as shit. So this part here is very hard because there's a lot of guys in this courtyard, you've only got 2 painkillers, and they keep on coming. There's about 10 dudes that are going to turn up. And the best way to tackle it is to stay up here and use the corner trick, where I can shoot out of cover, but they can't shoot me because I have a piece of geometry in the way. And it can take a while to get used to doing this technique on this game because how framey Max is. Like, when he shuffles, he moves his entire body, it's a little sluggish, it's a little laboured, and it can be kind of awkward manoeuvring, in making micro adjustments, but once you get used to it, it's okay. Just pray you don't have a shitty analog on your pad which makes your character drift, or Max is going to be walking when you're trying to shoot, and mine does that quite a lot, so if you ever see me drift out into no man's land and you're wondering what the hell am I playing at, blame my analog. I do. But just take your time. The last guy that turns up is this kid here. He's got a shotgun, that's how you know. And watch this range. That right there was a kill shot. He killed me then, effectively. But because I had a painkiller, I was able to kill him and get revived. That's how much damage shotguns do on this game. Anybody with a shotgun, a sawn-off, is trouble from every distance, on every difficulty. They do too much damage, it's ridiculous. This section coming up here as well, as we move towards where these guys were coming from, out onto the front with those giant scaffolding letters, you're going to trigger an enemy that rushes you, and you're going to see him move between the gap in the bottom of the A, so watch out for it here. You'll see him run past just there where I'm looking. There he is, and there he lands. And luckily enough, my shot frightens him and he falls over, and then I can finish him off. But be careful, because he's killed me before. And there's no checkpoint here on this entire section until you do it, and when you do it, it's the end of the level. But this bit here, don't go into cover, just move back so that he extends his weapons and use the cover trick to shoot these dudes. If they come from the left of you, press left on the D-pad to swap your aiming sides, and you can exploit the cover once again, and you can shoot them without ever risk of being hit, and this is the safest way of doing it. Make sure everybody's dead before you move up, and you should be fine. But if you do die down here, you'll have to do that entire start bit again, because the checkpoints on this game leave something to be desired. But technique-wise, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to impose on the early game, because later on this game gets a lot harder because the enemies take a lot of damage, and you have to aim for heads. I know it sounds silly, but it's one of those things where body shots just don't cut it later on because they're wearing so much armour, and sometimes they're just wearing a football shirt, but they seem to take 9 million rounds, which is kind of silly. And there's a couple of sections in the game where the game starts you in really bad situations. Like, it'll spawn 6 dudes, they'll all climb out of a car, and it'll give you control stood in the middle of nowhere with no cover and everybody looking at you. And these moments can be really challenging. And something that makes it a little bit more frustrating than it needs to be is, after every cutscene, regardless of what gun you're holding, Max will always have a single pistol. And there are certain moments where you have to act really fast after a cutscene, and you can fail if you don't. And when you only have one pistol, it can be difficult, because 2 pistols is better than 1, obviously, and if you've got a rifle of any kind, it's a really good choice as well. So you're going to have to get into the habit of changing your guns back after every cutscene, because the game will just always give you a single pistol, and it's really annoying. But when you move down here, make sure you use the cover trick, or you're going to be in trouble. And we're moving towards the end of the level here, so it's all smooth sailing from now on. But if you die, I think the checkpoint is back where we started, so be careful. Another little tidbit, which I don't know if it actually makes any difference, but it makes me feel a bit better. You're so vulnerable on this game when you move cover to cover, because it doesn't have a system like Gears or like Ghost Recon or anything. You literally have to move cover to cover, and in that interim, you're probably going to get killed, because this game is, you know, you die fast. So the best thing to do is to roll from one piece of cover next to the next one, and then bash X to go into cover. And if you do it right, you can generally roll if it's close enough and go straight into cover. It's pretty safe, but it doesn't always work. And if you're ever on the ground, I don't know if this has any effect, it might just be a placebo, but I tap A to try and make Max get up faster, because as soon as you're standing up, he'll roll, and it makes you a little bit harder to hit. And if you're going to slow-mo while you do it, you're harder to hit as well. So it's all about making yourself as difficult to damage as possible in a game where they damage you super easy. But patience, some luck, and a lot of skill, and you should be okay, folks. So thanks for watching, and you take care now.